Hello and welcome back to Homegrown Theater Camp. I'm your director, Mackenzie, and today in rehearsal we will go over projection and diction, find our characters' voices, and look at a few ways that we can perform some tricky parts in the play. But before all that, you need to warm up. So you go warm up, and I'm going to practice my moulinet. I'll see you on the other side. Forwards. Moulinet is that spinny thing that I was just doing with a sword. I learned it from stage combat class. Moulinet also means little windmill in French. But we're not speaking French today, because the script's in English. Now when you're speaking on stage, there's a few things that you want to keep in mind. Firstly, you want to make sure that you're speaking with very clear diction. So you want to clearly pronounce all the words that your character is saying. So to do this, what helps me is I focus on the consonants in the sentence, and I accent those more than I usually would. Kind of sounds like that. Another thing is you want to speak slowly when you're on stage. This just makes it a lot easier for the audience to understand you. There are times in a script, in a play, when a character will need to speak fast, but generally speaking, slow is the way to go. The third and probably most important thing when you're talking on stage is you need to make sure that you are projecting. Projecting is sending your voice to the back of the space so that you can fill the entire room so the whole audience can hear you. Of course, this is a little bit more important when you need to fill a huge theater, but even though you're performing these plays at home, make sure that you're still projecting. To help with projecting, breathe in through your stomach. So to try this, you can breathe in, and you should feel your stomach slightly push your hand forward. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So the reason that we want to practice stomach breathing is because a lot of the times when we're breathing normally, we tense our muscles up here. We bring our shoulders up and we close our throat a little bit. But you need all those areas to be completely open so that you can send your sound all the way to the back of the room. So opening all these areas and breathing in through our stomach helps a lot with projection. Now this is our third rehearsal together, so by now you know I'm a man of culture. I enjoy the musical stylings of Puccini, Stravinsky, Tchaikovsky. So I was particularly excited for today's rehearsal because today we're going to the orchestra. Not the real orchestra, the orchestra of the human voice. Follow along with me as we go through different vocal resonators, just to give you an idea of the range of voices that you can use for your characters. So we're going to start upping our head voice. So imagine that you're speaking from the top of your head, and it's going to get a little nasally. So say with me, violin 4 times, okay? Like this. Violin, 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 violin. See how it's got that nasally quality to it? So that's your head voice. Now we're going to move down sort of more into this throat area. It's a little breathier. And we're going to go viola 4 times. Ready? Viola, 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 viola. Good. And now we're going to get down into our chest voice. So you want to speak as fully as you possibly can. And what you're going to do is you're going to make the one sustained sound. You're going to say cello as full as you can with really wide vowels. But while we do that, you're going to take your hands, you could put them like this, like you've got a battle axe, and you're going to shake them. Okay? Ready? All together now. So the reason we shake our hands is because it loosens up your jaw and it shakes your whole body so that your jaw gets nice and loose while you're doing that, while you're practicing this nice full chest voice. Okay, so for this next one, you've got to get down in your knees like this, okay? And you're going to speak down here from your gut. And we're going to go double bass. And just sort of let everything hang for this one and put it as low as you can in your register, okay? 4 times. Double bass, double bass, double bass, double bass. Okay, so now you've got this full range of voices all the way from your head down to your gut. And these are all places where you can sort of place your voice and speak from. So try those out with your character's lines. And when you find one that you like, that you think kind of works, alter it. Start playing with pitch, how high or low your character talks. And you can even play with how quickly or slowly your character talks. Once you get your character's voice developed how you want it to, stick to it and keep it consistent. If you're really savvy, you'll take these instruments and you'll add them to the vocal warm-up that we do at the beginning of rehearsal every day, just so you can get your voice completely warmed up. So there's a few tricky spots in the play that you might have found confusing or hard to perform as you encountered them in your independent work. So right now, we're going to talk about and demonstrate a few ways that you can perform these spots. So we're going to start in Act 1, Scene 2, when Arthur first sees the wolves. So Arthur, he sees the wolves off stage. He has the line, "If I didn't know better, I'd think the wolves want to eat me." And then what happens is in Arthur's head, he thinks, "Oh wow, there's wolves out here." And then he looks and he sees them, and then he points and says, "Wolves, maybe they've eaten already." So you as the performer really need to sell that there's wolves right there, right off stage. And that's what the point does. The point helps with that. But also, you really need to put some fear in your eyes so that the audience knows that there's wolves off stage. So the next thing that could be tricky within the play is just for the one-person version. So in the one-person version, Arthur hides from the wolves, and he's hiding, this happens in all the versions. Arthur is hiding behind a log or a bush or a pot, or he can even just be hiding with his head on the ground so that we can't see his face. Whatever you do in the one-person version, you need to make it so that the audience cannot see your face, because if you're performing this alone, you need to make Merlin's voice while Arthur is hiding. So Merlin comes in and he says, "Vade lupus bestia." If you're doing the one-person version, you're Arthur, hiding your face from the audience, and you need to use, in that moment, Merlin's voice to say that, and then come out, and as soon as the audience can see your face again, you're Arthur again. Moving on to Act 2, Scene 1. Just a quick clarification. Merlin does this spell, and when he's looking into the cauldron, he is watching Arthur's life. So look through it as if you can see what Arthur is doing in that moment, and you're sort of narrating it in a way. Moving on to Act 3, Scene 2. Arthur trying to pull the actual sword out of the stone. So tomorrow we're going to show you how to make the sword and the stone during Tech Day. But generally speaking, you're going to have a stone, and somehow you're going to have a sword stuck into it, or a prop sword, something that looks like a sword that you can use. So to begin with, in the script it says Arthur cannot pull the sword out of the stone. So to do this, you pretty simply have to really look like you're trying to pull the sword out of the stone, but not actually pull it out. So you got to do one of these fake, and to do that, it helps to tense your muscles and just shake just a little bit, but don't actually pull the sword out. So just do this, really look like you're putting in effort, but really let it sit there. Okay, good. And then later, obviously when you become king and pull the sword out of the stone, just give it a little effort, and then suddenly, there you are. You're king of Albion. Another thing to consider in Act 3, Scene 2, and this is sort of like what we did with the wolves earlier. Anku's army of the undead is off stage, ready to take over. So you need to really sell that there's an undead army off there. Just like the wolves, but probably actually a lot more scared. And the final tricky spot occurs again only in the one-person version, which is when Merlin comes in for his monologue at the end of the play, speaking to Arthur. So this involves a bit of an on-stage character switch. So what you're going to do is you're playing Arthur, and you know that someone's coming, and you say, "Stay back," and then you need to leave your spot as Arthur, go off, do whatever you need to do to change into Merlin, and then pick a new spot as Merlin and face where Arthur was standing. You can say your whole monologue. I suppose I never properly introduced myself, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Now we must go. Your citizens and knights await your presence, your majesty. And then walk off stage as Merlin. Then what you'll do, take your Merlin things off, put your Arthur things on, move back over to where you were standing as Arthur, take the exact same position, and then watch Merlin leave. That lets the audience know that, oh yeah, Merlin was here, and Arthur saw him, and they had a conversation. And then exit just where Merlin did, and they all lived happily ever after. Now onto your independent work, where you can practice diction and projection, use the instruments to find your characters' voices, and go over those tricky spots that we looked at today. Now take this new information and incorporate it into your play as you run it. Tomorrow, we get serious with Tech Day. As you can see, we finally got our setup, and we're excited to start working on tech. Until then, good luck, and learn your lines. Seriously, learn your lines. Thank you for watching Homegrown Theater Camp. You can subscribe to join the cast and download the script from our website. Follow us on Instagram and let us know if you have any questions during your rehearsal. Homegrown Theater Camp is produced by Blixt Locally Grown, with support of the Nebraska Arts Council, the Nebraska Cultural Endowment, the Pearle Francis Finigan Foundation, Union Bank and Trust, and generous individual donors.